While the research process can be represented by a model of one or the other, your own reasoning process and intellectual discoveries are often more complex, which they cannot be defined in some prefixed manner. When we are looking for questions to answers and answers to some of the questions, you will follow a complex process of inductive and deductive reasoning. The inductive reasoning, the knowledge that you obtain from the inductive reasoning is known as epistemology, as referred by Conford and Smithson in their research paper 2006, where you start your observations of the world and come to general conclusions about it. This interpretation will depend on the data and information you can draw from the world and the problem you are studying. You can either draw general conclusions from what you observe and from what you are studying and apply them to other things in a positive manner. At the same time, having an anti-positive attitude can also bring out some truths. Deductive reasoning. You start with the knowledge and understanding of the world and predict likely observations within it. Deductive reasoning is affected by your theory of reality, your own personal understanding of the world, and your underlying assumptions. This is referred to ontology. Different people might deduce different things as their understanding differs from your own, where they can see the things in much different ways. Greenfield suggests trying these techniques in line with deductive reasoning, random guesses, similar to brainstorming, where you try to solve problem by looking at number of potential solutions at random. Analogy, to think whether this problem is similar to anything else for which already a solution have been identified. Inversion, trying to look at things from the opposite side. Partition, break the problem or situation into smaller and more manageable, understandable parts. Research can be classified from three different perspectives: from the field, from the approach, from the nature. These three categories are adopted by Sharp and others. These authors identify an additional category called purpose. However, as the purpose of research is arguably to contribute, the way that research achieves this contribution has been identified here, subsumed within this nature. Field. The field of study is not simply labeling a research, but it's something what we can call it as a broader area of study where you are going to confine your research. Approach. The approach represents the methods that you will employ in your research as part of the researching. For example, case study, experiment, survey, all these things could be called as an approach to some research. Nature. The type of contribution that research makes to knowledge depends upon its nature. Sharp and others identify three categories that can be used to classify the nature of research. One, pure theoretical development. Category 2, research that reviews and assesses pure theory and evaluates its potential for practical application. Category 3, applied research that has some practical application or common classifications of research. The nature of research can also be identified according to the common classifications as per Sharp and others, Herbert and Saunders and others in their research papers. Pure theory, developing theories to explain things without necessarily linking them to practice. This is one classification of research. Descriptive studies, the second classification, reviewing and evaluating existing theory and knowledge in a field or describing particular situation or events. Third classification, exploratory studies, exploring a situation or a problem. These studies are useful for finding out what is happening and why is it happening, etc. Explanatory studies, explaining or clarifying something or some phenomena and identifying the relationship between these things. Casual studies, assessing the effects that one or more variables have on another. Here there will be one independent variable and some dependent variable. So in these kind of studies, what you do, you manipulate the independent variable and monitor the changes in the dependent variables. What is a good research? According to Phillips and Poe, they identify three characteristics of a good research. The first characteristic, open mind. You should work with an open system of thought. Be open-minded to the questions posed, conventional wisdom, and accept a doctrine. 2. Critical analysis. Examine data critically. Are these figures are correct? Have they been affected in some way? What do these data really mean? Are alternative data available? Can these data can be interpreted differently? This is the second good characteristic. The third good characteristic is generalizations. Researchers generalize and specify limits on the generalizations they identify. Generalizations allow the researchers to interpret and apply a wide variety of situations. However, the researchers must know the limitations of these generalizations. Two main classes of research methods. According to Bernstein and others in their research paper 2008, identify two main classes of research methods. One is quantitative, the other is qualitative. Quantitative research methods are associated with measuring things on numeric scales. So according to Bernstein, these methods stem from the natural sciences and are concerned with understanding how something is constructed or built or works. Qualitative methods, on the other hand, emerges from social sciences. So according to Benson and others, they say this method is primarily concerned with increasing understanding of a substantive area rather than producing an explanation for it. Qualitative research methods are common within the field of information science and involves methods such as case studies and surveys. Four most common research methods. They are: 1. Action research, 2. Experiment, 3. Case study, and 4. Survey. Action research involves the carefully documented study made by the researcher to actively solve a problem or change a situation. It is also referred as participants' observation, which involves in working on a specific problem or project. The experiment. This involves an investigation of causal relationships using tests controlled by the researcher. Quite often, quasi experimental research will have to be performed due to problems of insufficient access to samples, ethical issues, and so on. According to Saunders, experiment involve defining a theoretical hypothesis, selecting samples from unknown population, allocating samples to different experimental conditions, introducing planned changes to one or more variables, measuring a small number of variables, controlling all other variables. Experiments are usually performed in development, evaluation, and problem solving projects. Case study. A case study is an in-depth exploration of one situation according to Conford and Smithson. It involves the investigation of a particular situation, problem of a company or group of companies. The investigation can be performed directly by interviews, observation, etc. Case studies usually generate a large amount of subjective data that you must analyze, interpret in order to produce meaningful, accurate conclusions. Survey. This is usually undertaken through the use of questionnaires or interviews. It allows the collection of large amount of data from a sizable population in a highly economical way. As part of a survey, you might have to identify samples, sample sizes, and design questionnaires and define interviews, etc. Research methods can also be classified according to their time frame. A snapshot of the situation or event is referred to as cross-sectional study. A long-term picture, on the other hand, in which the data are gathered continuously over a period of time, is known as longitudinal study, which are the subdivisions of survey. Questionnaires. They are useful means of obtaining data from a large number of subjects. Before you undertake a questionnaire, you should consider what you hope to achieve from it. The target audience must be decided. In what format you are going to handle the questionnaire, whether it's going to be a web medium or a physical form, etc. Will you send out postal questionnaires through letters or through emails or through websites? There are some websites that help to handle the questionnaire are given here. SurveyMonkey, Big Red Spark, Thesis Tools, or some of the websites that you can try for handling the questionnaires. The advantages of sending the questionnaires via the email are: it is quick and free to send, large populations can be targeted easily, respondents can reply relatively easily. Email questionnaires have some disadvantages as well. They may be filtered as spam and may be easily deleted. If questionnaires are sent as an attachment, it may not be readable or take long time to download. If questionnaires are embedded in the email, it might appear clearly as formats that might change from one system to another. It can be difficult for respondents to reply anonymously, which may put them off, because every email has an email ID and some identification associated. Response rate. How will you persuade your subjects to complete and return the questionnaire? Maybe a prize money. Layout and size. For paper-based questionnaires, the layout is important. Try to keep your questionnaire as short and as simple as possible. Question types. The question types that you might consider while you are creating a questionnaire: open questions. They require extended answers from the respondents. Closed questions, where specific answers to questions that the respondent can select it from. Respondents are usually quite happy to tick some boxes instead of writing long answers. So try to mix open and closed questions in a healthy manner. Another way of viewing the question type is whether they are recall type questions or thought. Recall questions simply require the respondent to remember a fact, while thought questions require some consideration and perhaps involve opinions, points of view, etc. Blackster and others identify 7 types of questions that you might use in a questionnaire. Quantity or information, used to gather specific data that can be quantified. Classification, used to categorize responses into 2 or more groups. List or multiple choice, provides the respondent with a number of options to choose from. Scale, used to rate the respondent's feeling towards something. Ranking, used to order a series of options. 6. Complex grid or table, where the respondent will be ticking something. 7. Open-ended, used to obtain extended qualitative answers. Questionnaire order. The order you place your questions in a questionnaire can influence respondents and affect the response rate. Loughborough University suggests the following principles for the ordering of the questions. Place the important questions in the first half of the questionnaire. Don't put awkward, difficult or embarrassing questions at the start of the questionnaire. Go from general to specific questions. Go from closed to open questions. Leave questions regarding personal information until end. Anonymity. Most of the time, the respondent will not wish to give away his details. From the point of the researcher, whether he wants the respondent to remain anonymous or you want to know who they are. If they are anonymous, you may not be able to contact them for clarification, or otherwise, if they are not anonymous, you might set a prize money for the respondents if there is a clarification when they will try to clear it. If they are asked to supply, so the respondents' detail need to be always anonymous. If you ask the respondents to supply their name and details, they may be reluctant to complete the questionnaire. So, number one, it is better to keep them anonymous. Otherwise, by assuring them that the data that you collect will be kept very confidential and explain them why you need the data, then maybe they will be helping you with the details that you're looking for, which is about their age, qualification, detail, etc. So in addition to getting the contact details of the respondents, if they agree, it may be better to collect their age, professional standing, qualification, position, company, etc. And these details shall be collected only when you are going to do something with them. In other words, some stratification, classification, something like that. Otherwise, it is better not to really collect such details. To frame a good questionnaire at the first attempt is very, very difficult. So, when you make your first draft, check it with your supervisor, send it to some close, limited circle of respondents and get their feedback, and then redraft it, rephrase the questions, restructure the layout, etc. Flay and others in their research paper tell how a question might evolve over a period of time into something that provides a response that can be analyzed. In the first attempt, how much time you have been trained here? Suppose this is going to be the question in the first draft. After redrafting, the same question will become, I think the amount of training given here is too much, quite a lot, just right, not much, too little, right? You can imagine how the questions turn after redrafting, after getting the feedback from learned people. Few tips on questionnaire design. There are lot of issues surrounding the questionnaire design and deployment. With a considerable effort to produce a perfect questionnaire, still the response rates are usually poor. So in order to have a good questionnaire design, from Loughborough University, the points are: 1. Avoid leading questions. Questions that can lead the respondent to a particular answer. Be specific. Try to avoid words that could be interpreted by people in different ways. Avoid jargon. The respondent may not understand what you mean or have a different interpretation to you. Avoid double-barreled questions. That is, avoid asking difficult questions that could be interpreted in different ways, or try to elicit 2 or more answers at a time. For example, did you like the system's interface and its functionality? The answers could be very much different. Some will say good, some will say bad, some will say not okay, some will write a descriptive answer. So we should be careful. 5. Avoid double negatives. Do you agree that, example is, do you agree that the system was not designed badly? Not designed badly. So do you agree is one negative, not designed badly is another negative, right? So instead, it is better like this. Do you agree that the system was designed well? Right? This kind of simplistic direct approach is better in writing the questions for the questionnaire. Observation. Another research technique often used for case studies is observation. According to Blackster, observation involves the researcher to wait, watch, record, analyze events of interest. There are clearly a lot of issues surrounding observational research. The important points that the researcher should consider while preferring observation are: 1. Arrangements. How will you go about arranging an observation? Whether the necessary permissions are obtained, whether there are some ethical issues that you have to address, when the observation will take place and how long you will be there. 2. Recording the observation. How will you record the situation or event? You might record your observations in real time by tape recording, video recording, or taking notes. 3. Participation. Will you actually get involved in the situation you are studying, or will you act as a disinterested observer? If you are involved in the situation, how involved you will be? Will you need to get any training or health and safety instructions beforehand? If you are actively involved in this part, maybe it could lead to a larger action research method that you are undertaking. 4. The Hawthorne effect. Between 1924 and 33, a series of experiments were undertaken at the Hawthorne Works of the Western Electric Company, Chicago. These experiments involved the manipulation of various working conditions to investigate their effect on worker productivity. For example, changes to lighting levels, rest breaks, etc. In brief, it seemed that no matter what the investigators did, productivity improved, even when changes appeared intuitively to worsen the worker's condition. So, one of the main conclusions drawn from this study is that despite these detrimental changes, the workers felt valued by being involved in the experiment. Consequently, the workers worked harder. So, what you observe will not be under normal condition, as anyone you look at will be conscious of your presence and your observation. The summary: through this chapter, we have checked and realized that the research is defined as a activity which follows a process. The research process can be sequential, generalized, circulatory, or evolutionary. Research can be classified according to its field, approach, and nature. Research techniques that are used within the above approaches include interviews, questionnaires, and observational studies. Students, thank you very much. With this one, we come to the end of this chapter. I will be meeting you with another good video of chapter 2 very soon. Thank you very much.